For more than 75 years, a simple handshake between three nations has defined the fate of the world's most famous soldiers, the Gurkhas. But today, that handshake is looking pretty shaky, and a brand new military policy might just be the thing that breaks it for good. So let's break down why this historic pact is suddenly on the verge of collapse. And that really is the big question, isn't it? Can an agreement that was born in the shadow of a fading empire, can it really hold up in the 21st century? This isn't just about high-level politics. This is about the future for thousands of young Nepalese men and the incredible legacy of the world's most respected warriors.
All right, so the trigger for this whole crisis is India's 2022 Agnipath scheme. This thing is a total overhaul of their old recruitment system. The goal? To build a younger, more agile army and slash a massive pension bill. But here's the catch. Instead of the promise of a full career, new recruits are looking at a 4-year contract. Just imagine that. You sign up, you serve, but you know the whole time that 3 out of every 4 people in your unit are going to be sent home after just a few years.
And that new model just completely blows up the deal that's been in place for decades. A deal built on the promise of long-term service and, yeah, a pension. This isn't some small tweak. It's a fundamental break with tradition. And to really get how deep that tradition goes, well, we've got to jump in the time machine and go back more than 200 years. See, the relationship between the Gurkhas and foreign armies wasn't dreamed up in some quiet office. No, it was forged on the battlefield. Their story kicks off way back in the early 19th century. And here's the amazing part. The British were so blown away by the Gurkhas' enemies, by their sheer ferocity and their unbreakable spirit, that they basically decided, we have to get these guys on our team. Their reputation was so powerful, it literally turned adversaries into allies. And that journey from foe to friend happened fast. Right after the Anglo-Nepal War, the British started recruiting Gurkhas almost immediately. Then, a few decades later, during the Indian Mutiny of 1857, their loyalty was put to the test, and they passed with flying colors. That cemented their place as an elite force. Which, of course, led to a massive question in 1947. With the British Empire leaving India, what was going to happen to the Gurkha regiments? Well, the answer was this really clever bit of diplomacy for a new post-colonial world, the 1947 Tripartite Agreement. This one document would end up shaping the lives and legacies of the Gurkhas for the next 75 years. Okay, so this agreement was the bedrock for everything that came next. It was signed by all 3 nations, Nepal, India, and the UK, and it laid out all the ground rules. It made it official. Gurkhas would keep serving. It detailed how the regiments would be divided, and most critically for our story today, it established the terms of service, pay, and pensions, the very things that are now in question. And here's how it all shook out. The regiments were split. 6 of them went over to the new Indian Army, and 4 of them stayed with the British. This was that diplomatic handshake made real, a literal division of manpower and loyalty. Now, this agreement, it was so much more than just a piece of paper. It kicked off a brand new chapter in an already legendary history of military service, a chapter that would see Gurkhas serve all over the globe for the next 3/4 of a century. And their contributions have been absolutely immense. I mean, for the British, they were the undisputed experts in jungle warfare in places like Malaya and Borneo. For India, they've been on the front lines of every single major conflict, famously charging up those icy peaks in the Kargil War. They weren't just soldiers. In many cases, they were the game changers. But, this deal was never just about fighting. It became an economic engine for Nepal. The salaries and pensions that these soldiers sent home, we're talking about remittances, they literally helped build the country. They funded schools, they paved roads, and they gave entire villages a steady income. It was a lifeline of stability. Which brings us right back to today, where this historic agreement, with all its history and all its mutual benefits, is now staring down a moment of really profound uncertainty. So let's put it side by side, because this is the real heart of the problem. On one hand, you've got the traditional path, a full career, a secure future, a guaranteed pension. On the other, you have the Agnipath scheme, a 4-year tour that, for most people, ends on a cliff edge with absolutely no pension to break their fall. It's the difference between a lifelong promise and a short-term contract. So, not surprisingly, Nepal has put its foot down. The government in Kathmandu has officially asked India to hit pause on recruiting Gurkhas under this new scheme. Their argument is simple. It breaks the very spirit of the agreement that's worked so well for so long. And as a result, recruitment has basically been frozen since 2022.
But look, the pressure isn't just coming from the Agnipath scheme. The world of today is a completely different place than it was in 1947. Some people are arguing that the whole treaty is just a relic of the past. Even Nepal is starting to wonder if it's better to just scrap this one big pact and create new, separate deals with India and the UK. That old three-way partnership is really being pulled apart by modern priorities. So we're left with this huge question. Are we actually watching the final chapter of a historic military tradition play out in real time? Or could this crisis actually force a change for the better? Maybe a new, more modern arrangement for the Gurkhas service. Right now, the future of this unique and incredible legacy really hangs in the balance.